Hi there everybody, boys, girls, lords, ladies and gentlemen. It's Nick Dutch and I'm back on the camera again one more time. I want to share with you a little victory I had, just a small one in which I am remarkably proud. Namely, in a forum which is outside of YouTube. I know it can be difficult for some people to understand that there is in fact an internet world outside of YouTube, but there is, mark my words. I was involved in a discussion with a particular paranormal skeptic. It is important to note that after I'd gone through all of the various points, this particular skeptic conceded victory to me and said that he could not actually counter my arguments or debate this particular subject at this particular level. So there's something about the way in which I discussed it which enabled him to understand that there was merit to my arguments on the subject of paranormal / supernatural type phenomena. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you little snippets of what he said, and I'm going to tell you my responses. The first thing he says is, I regard skepticism as a very important trait, to which I replied, me too, I'm certainly not going to believe something because someone told me to. Secondly, he says, I believe it's important to test theories and arguments, to which I replied, I agree, but there are those who call themselves skeptics who do not, and instead promote a contrary faith-based position in a manner that doesn't stand up to intelligent scrutiny. He then responds, it's simply a questioning attitude looking for repeatable evidence as opposed to anecdotal stories. Okay, I say interesting. I agree that anecdotal stories are difficult, especially when the anecdotal story is portrayed as hard physical or factual evidence, which by logic and reason it cannot be, but it can be a form of testimony to something, but the question, which remains unanswered, is to what? Also, science itself is based upon correlations. Statistical analysis is based upon correlations, for example, the Pearsons Correlation Coefficient and the like. And some scientific methodologies from the social sciences, such as participant observation, cannot necessarily be repeated. Repeatable evidence is not always something that can be gained in the sciences, let alone psychic research. Therefore, the claim that repeatable evidence is essential prior to the creation of a working theory of how a phenomenon works is factually inaccurate. He made a statement saying, however, the argument that if we can't understand something, it could have a basis in psychic phenomena seems bizarre indeed. To which I replied, was that really my argument? Certainly not. My argument is that psychic phenomena can't be fully understood as of yet. Strange things happen or seem to happen, but we can't say how or why they occur. The phenomena under investigation in a dialogue between the skeptical camp, those who take a political attitude to their skepticism, and those who wish to investigate psychic phenomena gets twisted by faith-based positions on both sides. The desire to protect those faith-based positions and a lack of a desire to investigate the phenomena on the side of the skeptical camp. The political skeptics attempt to break down the arguments of the believer, avoiding or bypassing intelligent investigation into the phenomena at hand, not knowing or choosing not to believe that the believer may have made a mistake in their understanding of a combination of phenomena that can't be properly understood. Thus the skeptic uses dishonest tactics to undermine the position of a person who has misunderstood or misrepresented the phenomena that they have experienced. The phenomena needs further investigation, and differing points of view are necessary in dialogue. But if the skeptics aren't going to investigate the phenomena, their position becomes null and void as it ceases to be used in the spirit of scientific inquiry. His statement. I don't understand how a combustion engine works, but I don't believe there may be ghosts under the bonnet. To which I respond, this metaphor highlights your misrepresentation of the argument and more than highlights a flaw in the argument at hand. It is a straw man argument and a misrepresentation that, in this case, deliberately or not, is placed to undermine the position that I stated above. His next statement is, skeptics don't take positions, they question those who do. Then I respond, let's have a look at the dictionary definition, shall we? The first two definitions from dictionary.com. Number 1. A person who questions the validity or authenticity of something purporting to be factual. And definition number 2. A person who maintains a doubting attitude as towards values, plans, statements, or the character of others. So although you seem to be in agreement with the first definition by your very nature, you seem to have ignored the main thrust of my arguments, or have misrepresented it either intentionally or through misunderstanding. Thus your point of view cannot stand, and is by nature a fallacy, taking into account the position that I held. If you had taken the second definition, maintaining a doubting attitude, you would have been irrational, as the attitude is just an attitude, and is not geared to the search for the truth, and would have to therefore be dismissed as if it were a form of prejudice of the same intellectual order as racism, sexism, and the like, and on the grounds that it was not scientific. Either way, irrationality abounds. He then makes a statement. I once had a discussion with a person of strong religious faith and asked if they could offer any proof that God exists. Their response was to challenge me to prove that God didn't, therefore missing the point completely. To which I then respond, that's a non sequitur, a logical fallacy from the Latin, it does not follow. The statement has no bearing on the subject at hand, presumably an attempt, conscious or not, to undermine the position that I have taken here. The religious debate is not one that I was tackling here. So, he then leaves a message saying, Nick, I concede, I don't have time to debate at this level of detail. You are completely right, and my arguments are ill-founded. However, I still believe that there's no such thing as psychic phenomena. I have seen not a shred of evidence that convinces me. That's my belief system, so no need to gainsay. Good luck. So, I won in an argument and a debate with a skeptic of psychic phenomena. Now, I find it interesting in his response, of course, at the very end, that he says, that's my belief system. Which sounds to me like an admittance that this skeptical attitude towards psychic phenomena is a belief system, a faith-based position. And if it wasn't faith-based, does he have any faith in it? Some people say that faith is without evidence. Do the people who have faith feel that they've got evidence? Well, yeah. There's texts, there's personal experiences, and so on and so forth. So there is evidence. Is it conclusive? Probably not. But it's still evidence, and therefore all things which are faith-based do have some evidence behind them, to a certain degree. So essentially, skeptics of psychic phenomena have a faith-based position. Case closed.